Greetings, everyone, and welcome to a new episode, a new segment, a new video concept that we're doing here for Board Game Buffet. I don't know what the official title is because it's going to have some unboxings, but it's also kind of a catch-all or a catch-up. So I don't know. We'll say Board Game Buffet unboxing the catch-up. I don't know, or just catch-up. Since it kind of has as Graeme said, it has a double meaning of catching up, but also ketchup because we are all about the food. And I don't know, is ketchup even that popular in Canada?
Oh
It's
yeah,
not probably not your. Is it your number one condiment?
I think it is our number one condiment. Yeah. Now we only
Okay.
have we I think we only have ketchup here with the K. You guys also have was it like the catsup or whatever it's called?
Yeah, and I don't know if there's a difference. I think it's just probably. I don't know if it's a trademarked. Yeah, because it was always a joke as a kid. You have ketchup or you get catsup.
Yeah.
Which again I think they're the same, but like anything else, I mean, if you depending on, you have people that are very uh militant about the ketchup that they use. Some will only use Heinz, some will only use Hunt's. And I know even at times if we go to the grocery store, I mean, like we'll be like, well, let's just get this one here, the generic one. I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, we're not getting real ketchup. I don't know if we can, if we
So
could do that.
a quick ketchup story then. So I'd grown up eating Heinz ketchup. I'd eaten it my entire life, never bought anything else but Heinz. Then several years ago, Heinz had said they're no longer going to make the ketchup for Canada in Canada. They're going to import it from because it wasn't cost effective. They shut down a plant in I think it was Southern Ontario, and there's a big push to move everybody over to one that is made in Canada called French's. Um, they're more popular for their yellow mustard,
Right.
but they also do make a ketchup. So an awful lot of people switched over to French's ketchup. So I changed over as well. I went, this actually isn't bad, and it's cheaper than Heinz. So French's is now my go-to ketchup all the time.
Yeah, I don't think I've never looked for French's ketchup. I mean, we have French's mustard, obviously,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. I know here they get you get the spicy ketchup and you can get, I think you get the ketchup and mayonnaise mixed together
Yeah.
sort of stuff. I don't venture too far out. We only get the spicy ketchup because it's required for the recipe that Amy makes the sauce for her meatballs. It requires a little bit of spicy ketchup in it, which is
Right.
kind of hard to find. It used to be able to find all over. Now it's like it's like going on an Easter egg hunt trying to find the little thing of it. But I just didn't know if it was huge in Canada because I saw a news article the other day that a woman in Britain tried ranch dressing like for the first time in her life. Like ranch dressing is not something maybe in Europe.
No, it's not. Ranch dressing, from my understanding. I mean, we have ranch dressing over here as well, but it seems to be an American thing.
Hmm.
Now,
Okay.
with us being so close to it, of course, we kind of inherited ranch up here. But yeah, it's always seen as the American thing that you guys put on everything.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about everything, but it is a go-to. Like I'll dip a burger in it or dip my fries in it.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
will admit I will dip my pizza in ranch dressing. So I do like ranch dressing. It's just,
yeah.
but yeah, I could see why it is seen as an American or North American thing. And I know my relatives and well, my dad's friends and relatives in Scotland, their salad dressing of choice is salad cream, which, yeah,
What is salad cream?
it's
That
almost
sounds like mayonnaise to me.
yeah, it's a. I've had it once, so I'm not exactly sure what it is, but it is like it's a white mayonnaise kind of consistency. It's more pourable. It's sweeter. It comes in like jars. It
I
is a
wonder if
little
it's like they have like the Marzetti's salad dressings here, which are kind of a little mayonnaisey. They're a little thicker. They're a very distinct flavor.
right.
Um, that doesn't sound appealing. I mean, if you're gonna make me eat a salad, you at least got to entice me with something good on it. I've actually made quite a few salads here lately. I'm trying to
Oh,
recreate my Zaxby's salad.
I was thinking it's the California lifestyle's got to you. You're going to be having avocado on toast and
No,
nothing but the spring greens.
no. My salad was recreating the Zaxby's, which is the a chicken place, and I always like their salads. But of course, I get mine with their I forget what they call it, house salad or schoolhouse salad or whatever. But they take their fried tenderloins, their fried chicken strips. They cut them up and they put them on the salad. So I found some that I cooked in my air fryer. They're really good. They were an organic chicken, and they had a good light. They were lightly breaded. Put them in the air fryer, cut them up, and then the salad. I cut up some cucumber, and I had some tomato and some cheese, and then a set of croutons. Like the fried onion crisps that you'll get for like green bean casserole. They put those on it, and then ranch dressing. It was really good. I've made it a few times now, but still not as good as the actual Zaxby's one, but still pretty good. Pretty good in the pinch. But anyways, that was way off topic. This video is going to
That's
be
so unlike us to go
yeah,
completely off topic like that.
yeah. So the purpose of this video really is because we talk about on the podcast, we talk about first bites, games that we've had an opportunity to play. We'll allude to maybe games we've picked up. So I thought for this one, these are going to be the games that we've picked up, that we've alluded to, or maybe we haven't talked about at all. But you may not hear about them on First Bites. You may not see Graeme do a video review of them on the Dice Tower. But they're still worthy of at least talking about, okay, this is what we purchased, this is why we purchased it. Maybe show you the components, that sort of thing. And otherwise, they just kind of fall through the cracks. So that's kind of the reason, I guess, behind the video. All right. You've got more purchases than I have to share. So why don't you go ahead and show us one of your purchases that we may or may not ever hear from again.
Okay. So I'm actually probably going to I won't show some of them because we have talked about them on the podcast before. So I'll try and get either the ones that I haven't played yet or ones I haven't talked about on the podcast. So the first one I'm going to talk about is called Tipping Point. It's the climate change card game. One of the reasons why I got this is I like card games. One of my favorite styles of games are card games like Magic the Gathering, those type of things. And Tipping Point also kind of carries the climate control message to it. So I'm just going to quickly show you some of the components. You've got an overall timeline. So this is kind of the timeline of the entire game. You start in 2010, and the game is going to be over at 2100. Whether anybody's won or not, the game will end at 2100. Each person also has a little board that kind of allows you to track your cash flow, how much money your city is making, how much your CO2 production is, and it says risk factor on it. And I'll get into why that is. And the last one is food production. So of course, the point of the game is that each person is a mayor of a city, and you are building up your city. You're getting more citizens in, and each citizen needs to have some food. They're going to give you hopefully a special ability, and then you're going to be building up your city. You're going to be getting farms. You're going to be getting trade markets, things like that. And everything is cards. So I'll quickly show so things like this. This is one of your starting things. You get a large farm, and it tells you across the bottom how much CO2 it produces, how much money it makes, and how much food it comes in. Your citizens look identical to these cards, but their stuff is across the top saying how much food they consume and whether they affect any of your stats as well. So on your turn, you are going to draw a citizen card, add it to your thing, adjust your stats. You can then buy the developments, which you can buy one development a turn for the dollar value up here. Do that, you adjust your stats. Once everybody has done that, you then have to feed all your people. And you have what I think is the most intriguing part of this game. And that is going to be the weather. So you have a deck of weather cards that all basically just have, the rainy, snowy, windy, whatever else. And you look at your total carbon dioxide. Each one has a little number on it. You may not be able to see that, but it goes from -5 in the green all the way up to 10 plus in the red. So you add up everybody's CO2. So everyone around the table will say, I have 5, I got 4, whatever else. And you add it all up. And there's a little chart that says, based on the number of players, how many of these weather cards do you have to draw? And what you do is you take one card and you reveal it. Nothing happens with only one card revealed. Then you would draw the second one and you look whether that combination of weather on a little chart here, does that combination of weather cards do anything? If they do, disaster happens. If not, then the first one you drew goes away. Then you draw another one and say, does that combination of weather go? And you basically just keep on going through drawing however many weather cards you need to draw, but they go in order. So if you draw a wind first and then snow, it doesn't matter whether on the weather card there's a snow wind. It has to be in the exact order that it's showing. So that's why you're kind of, then this one drops off, this one goes over, a new one comes in, and then you're looking for that particular order. This game can be played 3 different ways. You can play purely competitive, you can play semi-co-op, or you can play teams. The game works, sort of. I really like the idea, and it's very simple. You literally draw and place a citizen card. Most of the citizens are going to give you a special ability, and they're usually a one-time ability as well. And once you use them, you flip them over, and all they do then is just eat food and produce one coin. You can kind of get stuck later in the game in which you're just kind of waiting for the end to happen. There are many cards in this game that can only be bought or used under certain situations. There's ones that require energy. If you don't have an energy producing card like a coal plant or a wind farm or whatever else, you can buy those cards, but you can't power them. So they do nothing in your development. And if you're playing with lower player count, especially with 2 players, you're only going through less than half the cards. So you could be in a situation, one of the first times I played it, energy cards never came up. We had all these cards on the table that there was no point in anybody buying because no one could use them. Then there are other cards which are called research cards, which you can only buy if you've bought the university and the university has power. So we got down to the last couple of rounds of the game and we were looking at going, there are 2 cards out of 12, because there's always a tableau of 12 cards you can buy from. There's only 2 then that I can buy. There's no option for me to wipe them all. There's no option for me to pay a couple coins to get rid of a couple cards to allow redraw. You just kind of get into this situation going, I can't buy any cards. So there's a little problem with the balance that way, but it's unfortunate because I really like the theme. I think it's a very well done game, but I don't think they fully thought through the balance of the cards. But I think if you are a teacher or looking to educate people on climate change, this does a really good job of, yeah, you can buy a coal plant, but then your CO2 goes up. And you as an individual city may have a low CO2, but if everyone around you is polluting, you kind of see how everybody's pollution kind of sums together to get those weather cards. And if you say, well, I don't care about other cities, I'm going to pollute all I want. Some of those weather cards will say you lose X amount of development cards, you lose X amount of citizens, depending on your CO2 rating. So on the little board here, probably can't see it, but in those red circles, they'll start off with 1x and then 2x, and then when you get all the way to 10, those are 3x. So there's some cards that will say you lose X amount of citizens. Well, it depends on where you are in this track. So I really like that. I think that's a fantastic mechanism. It's just the rest of the game, it's a bit meh. So that is Tipping Point. So hold the box again. Tipping Point.
Yeah, I remember when you talked about this on the podcast, and it doesn't sound like it's gotten any more enticing to just because. I mean, maybe with higher player count, it would be better.
When I talked about it on the podcast, I think I'd only played it 2 players.
Right.
Well, I played it 2, 3, and 4 players now, and I played it co-op and I played it competitive, and each one of them has the same problem.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I will not have to worry about ever playing it then, because it doesn't sound like it's Sounds like it'll be on your cold shelf.
Yeah, it's one of these games in which the first 3 quarters is really good, and then it just grinds to a halt and becomes this game isn't so like if there was a way to shorten the game
All
or
right.
to have some other mechanism to get rid of how it clutches up like that, it would be a much better game.
All right. No, that's a shame because I mean, thematically, it sounds pretty cool. All right, so the first game I'm going to talk about is one that I know Graeme has actually played. I have not played this one yet, but I did pick it up. Um, well, that's not going to show, is it? Because of my background. Oh, wait, hold on. Why is that? That's interesting. Oh, now it will. I don't understand that, but sure. Anyways,
Yeah, it's looking for your face.
is that what it is?
Yeah.
Hello. How's that? Yeah. Is Glasgow. So Glasgow is a 2-player game. It's from Lookout Games, and I got it purely because it's a 2-player game. I also got it because I do like the Lookout games for the most part. They're pretty good. It's not gonna take a long time to play. I think it's what, about 30 minutes is what it says it should play in. And I know sometimes 2-player games can be hit or miss as far as if they're really that good or not. But this is a pretty simple one. It reminds me a lot of the Cosmos 2-player games as far as box size. And I know this probably sounds horrible on there, but it's pretty component light as well. You got a couple of player boards. You've got what, three? I guess you got a total of four sets of tile sheets that they have in there, and I think the artwork is fine. I mean, it's a Lookout Games. I don't know. I think the box cover might have been a Franz box art. Looks like his style, anyways. Doesn't say that it is, but on a side topic, I did see that BGG is going to now start listing graphic designers and developers and everything else, as well as designers and artists. So that should be pretty cool. Give some people some credit that they don't normally get. I don't know if it means anything to the vast majority of people on BGG, but anyways. So now you have played this, right, Graeme?
Yeah.
And you liked it. I don't think you loved it, right?
Yeah, it's a good solid 2-player game. The only unfortunate part I had was it gets kind of, and because I played it a lot in a short span of time to do the review of it, like most games, you kind of start to see that you need more time in between plays because it's the same thing each game. It's enjoyable. It's a really fun game to have as a 2-player game, but just don't play it like I do when you play it like every day for a week.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, I got it because it's a 2-player game, and I think it's going to be played fast enough and it is light enough that Amy will enjoy it. I don't, necessarily know if it'll be one that'll come back to the table a bunch, but the price point was pretty low on it, and her big thing a lot of times is time. She accuses me of lying to her every time when I tell her, "Oh, it's only going to take 45 minutes," and she's like, "You tell me every game's going to be 45 minutes, so this one should at least be 45 minutes at the worst case scenario."
Yeah.
Mechanism wise, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I guess it's what, tile placement and fulfilling contracts. So is that set collection?
But my favorite mechanism that it uses is it's basically a ring of actions that you're going to put out. And each game is going to be random, the same actions, but just in different orders. And who's ever in last place gets to go next. And you can go as far as you want around the action circle to take whatever action you want. But again, it's who's ever last gets to go next. So if you move really far, the next person can take several moves in a row.
So it's last as far as position, not
yes.
points. Okay. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. So it's always I really, there's that thing I really, really want, but that's far away from me. Do I give my opponent the ability to do a lot of small actions just so to make sure I get that one big action? Or do I go significantly less to try and, even it out? But then if I go less, they could jump all the way to the front if it's a really good building you want, for example. So I really like that decision in that game.
Yeah, I was looking at the player boards. I'm assuming the player boards. I mean, they're double sided, but they play the same. It's just a male female
Yeah.
option. Is that what it is? Okay, that's all I could discern from it. Uh, so yeah, so again, I mean, I haven't played it. I do want to get it played. I'll probably fool around with it a little bit here, and play it solo multiplayer just to figure out how it plays. So when I sit down with Amy, I can give her the quick and dirty breakdown of the rules, so we can get it to the table. But again, it's Lookout Games, Glasgow. It is designed by Mandela Fernandez Grandon.
Yeah. That is their first game. It's a
Oh, really?
brand new designer. Yeah.
Okay. And I would assume the art is Franz.
It certainly looks like it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a very is that a typical Scottish looking expression on his face, holding his, I'm assuming, pint of beer.
Looks exactly like my dad.
Does he?
Although my dad's from the other side of Scotland.
There's Scotland's like how big?
It's not that big.
Okay, so he's not from the Highlands.
No, the Highlands are in the middle. My dad's from Aberdeen, which is the east coast city, very north. Glasgow is kind of southwest on the other coast.
And I'm sure there are probably people listening right now, or watching, I should say. They're probably thinking, this American doesn't know anything outside of America.
So my next game
Go ahead. I know you're in agreement.
Is one that I think both Dean and I had on our Essen list. And this was the new game from Wolfgang Kramer and Michael Kiesling, called Paris. They are known for quite a lot of, they don't do heavy games. They do kind of good light to middleweight Euro games. This is no different. This one, it's going to be difficult to show the components because it is fairly massive. The board is basically made up of large city areas. So there's a bunch of these around the board. And these are going to be the main mechanism of the game. So you fit all these together like in a big circle. And on your turn, you're going to be drawing a building, and the buildings are going to, there's a little name here on the thing, and it will say, just turn it that way. You're going to pick a tile up. It's face down, so you draw the top one. You don't have a choice. And whatever street it's on, it will give you the number 1 through 8. So you basically, yes, 1 through 8. So you place it on whatever one it is. So you have no choice. You just draw it and place it on here. Once you've done that, you then have the opportunity to move a key. So if you notice at the top here, there's a bunch of places for keys, and this is called the bank. You can either take a key from your supply and put it on the bank, or take it from the bank and put it on one of the buildings that's currently here. So these are currently empty, but if there was a building here, so if I drew a building that went on this city area, or this street area, you would have one of these filled in, and it's going to be doing different things. It's going to cost you money to put your key on there, but that's what you do. You basically take it either from reserve to here or here onto here, pay the cost, and then you are going to get some benefit for having that. You can only go to a building that's empty, so 2 keys can't be on the same building, and then you're going to get whatever the reward is for that. You can also move a key from one current building to another current building on the same street. So I can move my key from here to, let's say, here, and all you do is you pay the difference between 3 and 8. So I don't have to pay 5 coins. There's going to be a way that you can get what are they called? Landmarks, I think it is. Landmarks are going to be big points things. Actually, they go down here. You can basically buy them and put them here, and they'll cost a lot of money. So if the maximum here is 8, they could start at like 12 or 14 or 16 coins or something like that, but they're going to be worth more money. There's a track that goes around the outside. That is one of the bonuses. You can move your player piece further along here and get the rewards for it. Of course, the further you go, the better the rewards. And again, it's like Glasgow. You can only go in one direction, but you can move as far as you want. So each time you get the bonus to be able to move your person, you can say, I'm going to move 1 step, I'm going to move 10 space. Doesn't matter. But anything you pass over, you forfeit. So the stuff at the end is going to be end of game scoring, which you want to get to, but then you're giving up an awful lot of resources to get there. So that was kind of enjoyable. For the amount of production that's in this box, I mean, this box is full of cardboard and 3D elements. You can actually build the Arc de Triomphe in the middle of this, which is another place to place your keys. The game is very basic. It literally is place a key or move a key. That's it. That's about your only options on your turn. Everybody's trying to race to get the money so you can buy the more expensive places to get more victory points. And at the end of the game, I think once there's 4 buildings in the street, you can place a victory point tile in there. So you'll pick one off of the thing and say, okay, I'm going to mark this street as who's ever got the most influence here. So whoever has the most keys is going to get 10 points, and then 6, and then 2. But all the victory point ones are different values. So of course you want to get them in your streets to be worth a lot of points, and other people's streets where you're not there, lesser points. So there is kind of those decisions. It got to the point when I was playing it that it was kind of felt repetitive even by the end of the first game. So it's definitely not one of my favorites from Kramer and Kiesling. And I think if it was a smaller game, I might have enjoyed it more. But you kind of lay it all out. It takes up like a full table space with all this stuff on it. And it really is just a draw a tile and then place a key. That's it. So it feels like there's too much production value for such a small scope game. Not that the game is bad, but it doesn't seem to match in my mind with how grandiose the game looks for how basic the gameplay is. It's fun gameplay, but it doesn't feel like it's a huge game. It feels like it should be like a small box game, like Glasgow size. But it looks nicer and whatever else. So the game's fine. And I'm sure some people are going to really enjoy it. But maybe it's my expectations versus reality is where I'm having the issue with. When I saw this large game, a large production, beautiful components and all that, I was expecting a much more in-depth game. What I got was a solid lighter weight game that, after I played a couple more times, with that mindset, I might enjoy it more.
You got a Kiesling and Kramer game.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I can understand. I mean, it would be misleading if you have this huge game board and all these components and everything. I guess it would make you feel like you should be getting more than what you're getting. End of the day, it's still Kiesling Kramer. The biggest thing that I was interested in this game about was it looked really, really cool. I mean, the artwork looked really nice. The pictures with the game board and everything looked really cool. And I thought this would be another one that, perhaps being a midweight game that Amy and even maybe Reagan would enjoy playing. So a few years ago, I sent Amy and Reagan to Paris, and they really enjoyed it. So I thought, well, maybe this would entice them. They did find their way back home, even after trying to change addresses and everything. So perhaps I'll choose a different city next time. But anyways, so I thought this one would be kind of a cool thematic game for them. I think it came and went pretty fast here. I think it was sold out pretty quick on. I'm assuming that's because it's Kiesling and Kramer, and they have a pretty good pedigree behind their name. I would like to play it, but maybe I'll wait to see what you're going to do with your copy before I run out and purchase one. So
yeah, and speaking to that, I think with the amount of games I'm trying to get rid of, this will be on my go pile. And again, that's not because it's a bad game, but it's
sure.
We quite often talk about it's a good game in a sea of good games. And I'm really trying to whittle down that sea to get it down to a pond of good games.
So did Lola enjoy it, or she was
enjoyed
same
it.
as you?
Both of us enjoyed it, but neither one of us was like, wow, this game is incredible. I can't wait to get it again. It was like, okay, that was interesting.
Right.
And you just sort of like, yeah, it's very easy to play. It's a very approachable game, but it doesn't have me anything that I'm dying to get back. Like, it's like, oh, next time I'm going to try this strategy. It's like, no, because you're beholden to as the city tiles come out. And when you're moving your keys, I would say there are decisions to be made. I don't want to sound it like it's just kind of on rails, but I wasn't like, oh, my overall strategy for this game is to go after all the 3-point ones because it does whatever. It's like, well, I forget the way it works, but the lower value ones I think allow you to move your person further, and the higher ones give you resources or something like that. So there is some choice of, do I want to go for the lower value ones, but they kind of give me a better special ability, or do I want to go for the high point ones, but they don't give me as good as ability when I take them. So there's that kind of back and forth, which is enjoyable. It's definitely good decisions being made, but it wasn't, when you've done it for 90 minutes, it kind of loses its appeal after a while.
I could see that. I mean, it's like anything else. If you don't, at this point in time, if you don't love it and you don't feel like it's going to, get to the table over and over again, what's the point? I've kind of gotten to that point with, even for games that I'm picking out for Amy or the family, is, I mean, I think it's going to be a really good game for them, but if they're not clamoring to get it back to the table, or if they're, after they've played it once or twice, and if I ask them, so do you like it? And they're like, yeah, it was okay, then I'm just going to get rid of it. It's just easier. I mean, space is a almost a precious commodity, for a lot of people, and there's no point of letting something sit around. So,
Yeah.
but don't get rid of it until I get a chance to play it, or just get rid of it and send it to Amy. So, all right. So my next game is a game, and I turned the background on so it'd be a little easier. Is a game called Guildmaster. So Guildmaster is put out by Good Games Publishing, and I haven't played it, but I did buy it because of the theme, for what that's worth. So this is all about you running an adventurers guild in some sort of fantasy trope setting, town setting, and you're competing with other guilds to be the best guild ever. To me, when I, back in the day, if I would do like Dungeons and Dragons online, or any type of those fantasy games where you had the ability to kind of start your own guild, or start your, become a member of the fighters guild or the clerics guild or whatever, that was always very interesting to me in those games. Trying to start one or to join one and work your way up the ranks. So when I read that that's kind of what this was about, I thought, okay, I want to check this one out. The production quality on it's pretty good. I mean, it's going to come with a very large rule book, the same size as the box, and then it comes with the quick start guides, which is pretty typical nowadays to give with games. The rule book itself is 20 pages, and it's got some pictures in it, but I haven't read all the way through it. But it looks like it's pretty detailed. And then the game board itself is not really that big because it's primarily a card game, but you do have you do have the game board where, I mean, art wise, I kind of like, what it's doing there, but I guess it's showing the inside of your guild is what it's trying to portray. And you have areas on here where you're going to place contract cards, because obviously you're going to be fulfilling contracts. That's how your guild's going to get its fame and glory. And then you have different adventures that you can add to your guild, and they will increase in expertise and value and things of that nature. The other stuff that you may or may not like about this game, and I honestly, it comes with like 4 of these little ribbon things, which remind me of bookmarks, and the one was all crimped up when it came. I'm not 100% sure if they're what they're for, if they're based off player color or whatever. I thought, well, that's something different. You don't see that very often. The components themselves are pretty thin.
Well, those do look thin.
Yeah, they're pretty thin. And these are the kind of the guild upgrades that you can add to your guess player area. And even these, I mean, these are, like I said, they're pretty thin. I wouldn't say they're warped. I just think they're thin, and they're kind of bowed from being in the box that way. But you're going to have different, your different guilds. You have the Serpent Soul and the Phoenix Flight and the Goliath Guard and the Tempest Tide. But the one thing I'm not overly thrilled with is that everyone's going to get these player screens. I'm not a huge fan of games with player screens or player screens themselves, but I will say that on the inside, they do give you a ton of information.
It's like another rule book.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess that's good. I don't know how much, if it's sitting in front of you, how easy it will be to read necessarily without either getting down behind it and hiding your face behind it as well. But it does give you the round phases and how to play and the different upgrades and stuff like that. And it also gives you a nice little breakdown on what the icons and stuff are. The other than that, it's got a bunch of tokens and some tiles that you're going to use. Comes with a bunch of dice. You've got contract cards, and then you've got your actual kind of your adventurer cards as well. The people that you can add, and you've got different levels. There's novices, and then there's adept, heroes, and then finally legendary status. I do like, so what when I bought the game and I saw the box art, I thought, man, I really like that box art. It's really cool. I don't necessarily think that, I mean, the art is okay for these. They're not it's not bad by any means. I don't think it's amateurish at all compared to some games that are out there. I just don't think I like it as much as, what the box art looked like. I don't think it was as detailed, perhaps. But it is what it is. This game is supposed to play, I think, in about 60 minutes to 90 minutes. And I don't know if it's going to do a whole lot different than other games that are kind of a deck building style, increase your player, your character abilities and things like that. But again, the whole reason I got it was the theme, the art, the mechanisms. I mean, sounded okay. I mean, it didn't sound like they were doing anything necessarily new, but it also wasn't a very expensive game. I don't think. I'm trying to think if I paid $40 for it, maybe. So I think price point wise, it was okay. Have you? I know you've never even looked at this game, correct?
No, I have not.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know if it would interest you or not. I mean, thematically, it may. I know you're not a huge fantasy trope, and I don't know if I would call this a true fantasy. Like you would think fantasy, like orcs and goblins and stuff like that, but it's definitely a fantasy esque theme with the Adventurers Guild. But that's Guild Master. That's why I got it. I don't know if it'll be any good or not. You may never hear from it again. I was a little disappointed it doesn't play solo, and I just haven't. Honestly, once I got it and unboxed it and started looking through the rule book, I didn't have the desire to play it multiplayer solo because 20 pages for a game that I may or may not enjoy. I know it sounds bad coming from someone who, I can read I'll do a 40-page war game rule book without any problems, but I have a lot more interest in that than I do for this one. This was a little bit of an impulse buy as well. I had it, I don't think it was on my Essen list, but I had it in my cool stuff cart for a long time, my wish list. It came in, I think it didn't sell out very fast there, but I wasn't at home. I didn't want to put an order in, and the local game store here in California had it. So I'm like, okay, fine. He's making puppy dog eyes at me when I came through the door. I'll buy a game.
It's funny that you're talking rule book length of how you'd read a 40-page war gamer. So I'm working on a review right now on Horizon Zero Dawn.
Didn't you already do a review on that game?
No, and the reason why I haven't is because the rule book is 49 pages long, and it is a full rule book, 50 pages worth of rules.
Yeah, well, it looks like it's a nice bound rule book. Well, no, I'm just saying. I mean, for that length, it reminds me of getting like one of the kind of like the faction books for like BattleTech or back in the day or whatever the different factions were.
Okay, so my last game is one that we have mentioned on the podcast, but we've never. I don't neither one of us has played it. I think Dean owns it, but I was able to pick up CloudAge.
I do own it. I was almost gonna put it on my list for this, but I thought, you know what, I bet Graeme will show this one.
Yeah.
So
most of the games that I have, so all the games I'm showing you, and plus the ones I'm not going to show you, I all were my last purchase. So last time I went to the game store, I bought 6 or 7 games, which is kind of a typical month for me, anywhere between 5 and 7. I've played, if I got 7 games, I played 6 out of the 7. This is the one game I haven't played yet. And which surprises me because it's Pfister. I like a lot of Pfister's games, but I'm not hearing fantastic things about CloudAge. And again, you've got the rule book. The rule book is short, like 12, 13 pages long, with a lot of examples in it. So it's a, relatively nice rule book, game setup and things like that. You've got your score point and kind of resource track. So your score markers kind of go around the outside of this. And you also have markers that start off here. And as you move along, you're going to be getting different resources as they cross the different lines. Everybody starts with an airship that's got places for different things. You're going to have propellers, weapons, and something else on basically the 3 sides that you can upgrade so you can go further. You can do better attacks. You can do better storage. You've got kind of markers down here which show you how much energy I believe you have, and then across the very bottom will show you how the phases go for your turn. But you are flying your airship across the landscape. Landscape is made up of tiles that you're going to be putting together, and you're going to be trying to land in different cities. So all these kind of things on the board here are cities. And again, I haven't played it yet. I have read the rules. And when you come to a city, you can either attack the marauders that are, you're defending the city against the marauders that are going around. Then you're going to be getting bonuses. But one of the coolest things about the game is there are these cards here. So they're sleeves that you put cards in. And you notice that there's a kind of a cloud pattern on them, and I think there's 6 of them in total. You're going to be placing some resource cards in here, and people are going to be taking in actions, but you can't see really what's on the card when you put them in here. Where are they? I can't find them. Anyway, this is going to cover up most of the card, but you're going to be able to see certain actions that are going to be available, and you're going to be placing your meeple on underneath here of kind of what do you want? Do you want the steal resource action, or do you want the build resource action, or do you want one of the other 2? I can't remember what they all are. But you can maybe see a bit that, I do see like 2 build icons. Are there any more? I'm not sure, but I'm going to do that. So once everybody's kind of placed their pieces on there to mark off which ones they want, you then remove the card out of the sleeve, and you actually see what everybody gets. So it's a really neat mechanism to kind of partly obscure what's on the card, but you kind of get an idea, but you don't know the exact thing. And sometimes you can get bonuses for taking certain actions, and the bonuses may be covered by the cloud. So, I'm the last person to pick, so I'm going to take the water resource. You take it out, water gives you a bonus, but no one can see it. So that's kind of cool. You have a hand of cards. Everybody starts with the same hand of cards, and you're going to be playing 2. One of them is how far you move. The other one is how much energy you have, or something like that. There's, like any Pfister game, there's the cards that you play matter, and they're going to be used for 2 different things on your turn. Or the lower one is how far you can move, whatever else. Like I said, I haven't played it. I mainly got it because the designer. His previous game, Blackout Hong Kong, wasn't my favorite, but there has been a couple games that he has done, like Mombasa. I really enjoy. The New Dale, was it Return to New Dale?
I think so.
Yeah, and then which was enjoyable. Oh My Goods was a really good card game. So I've liked a lot of his other stuff. Maracaibo, excellent game from last year. So I'm looking forward to trying this one. It just hasn't hit the table because it seems to be a larger game than a lot of the other ones I bought. And because I'm kind of hearing mixed reviews of it, it's like, I got other things to play before I play this one, but this is kind of
Right.
next on my list to play. So that is CloudAge by, I think the first time he's got a co-designer as well, by Pfister and Arno Steinwender. So it's my last game, CloudAge.
Yeah, and I think this one has a solo capability, if I'm not mistaken. I think it plays
Yes, 1 to 4.
1 to 4. So a couple things. I've got it. I've opened it. I've punched it. I read the rules. I haven't played it. If I would say there's anything about it that I'm lukewarm on, would be thematically. I'm not a huge post-apocalyptic person. Those games generally don't draw me in, and that's what. And I'm also not a huge steampunk fan, and those are the two things, the two vibes I really get from this game, with the airships and the, you're searching for the resources, and it's, whatever it is, the water's all gone, or you know so those things thematically don't like get me salivating to want to try it. But I will say this, and here's the thing I will say about Pfister. I think one of the reasons that Pfister has so many, not so many, but has games that people love or are very cold on, is I think as a designer, he's at least willing to try a lot of different things. He's, it's not a typical, you get some designers where it's just rinse and repeat. This is what I'm good at. This is what, I know this is what's going to sell. Well, maybe I'll change one little mechanism here or whatever. And, we'll put a new theme on it. We'll push it out the door. I'm not saying that he can't do that, because, he definitely has things that are similar between a lot of games. But I do think that for himself, it seems like he's willing to push the envelope a little bit and try some different things that may or may not appeal to, to the masses.
Yep.
I do want to play it though, but like you, I'm not in any urgent manner to get it to the table. So speaking of not wanting to get it to the table, my last game is one that I did play. It was an impulse buy, but it was an impulse buy because of the theme. Basically, it's The Shining: Escape from the Overlook Hotel. And I love The Shining. I love the book. I like the movie, the original movie. I like the theme of the game, and I like the idea of what, it's basically, let's say it's an escape room, but it's an escape room style um, game. You're trying to escape from the hotel, and you are playing basically the kid and the mother. You're playing Wendy and the hell was the kid's name? Michael? I don't remember off the top of my head. But so this is one of those games where you start out, you have these couple of room cards, and they're pretty, they're pretty basic. This one is the lobby. So it's the lobby room tile, and then you've got, the kitchen, and you've got the kind of the ballroom, the Colorado room, and then you've got the gold room, which I guess is another banquet thing. They're not, art wise, they're not going to win any prizes, and they're serviceable, but they're pretty bland. They're not trying to draw you in to look at different like clues within the card, like you get with some escape rooms. Oh, look, in this painting, there's like a little, there's a little number. That's not what these are doing. They're putting these numbers out here on the board or on these tiles so that you can reference them in the book. So you have these tiles. You then are going to have your little character people, and they're just these little paper standees that you're going to put in these little plastic clips. They're not even cardboard. They're just, well, I guess they're technically cardboard, but they're pretty thin. But you'll notice that at the bottom of them, they've got these numbers. So that's the boy, and then you've got Wendy over here, and she's got a little number as well. So what you're going to do in this game is you're going to have them in their little standees. And so the numbers are going to actually, let me stick it out of here. Let me rattle this plastic around in the microphone a little bit. Um, so when you have them in these standees, you're going to see there's two sides. She's got a 2 on this side. She's got a 1 on this side. And you're going to have them in, well, actually, they're not even going to go in standees now that I think about it. You're just going to flip down their bases like that. But on the cards, depending on what you want to do, and there's different types of actions you can do, you're going to put the standee next to, see if I can do this, next to some of these numbers, and it's going to give you a 4-digit code. So you're going to use that 4-digit code based on the character you're using and based on the action you want to use. It may be starting with the 2, maybe starting with the 1, and that's how you're going to reference the numbers in the book. And there's like 4 different books, and they go from 5,000 to 999, so on and so forth. There's different ones. One is and I think one's specific to Wendy, or 2 are specific to Wendy, and one's for, I guess it's Danny, not Michael, Danny Torrance. So I thought that was kind of an ingenious way of doing it by the different codes, and depending on the action you're going to take is going to change which number you're going to have in front. And of course, then Danny has a 3 and a 4 in front of his. So you're going to use that. You're going to look up stuff in the book. It's going to give you a bit of a storyline. It's going to give you some options. It may tell you, you can get this piece of equipment, so on and so forth. And you've got these cards that you're going to have throughout the game as well that are going to either be different types of equipment or different more little map tiles that you're going to possibly put out. And as you can see, you've got if that doesn't scream artist of the year, I don't know what will. You've got the hammers, some more map tiles. It's going to give you little things like that. Kind of like, the Tales, what was the Escape Tales, the Awakening or whatever, stuff like that. In theory, all of it should work flawlessly together. Looking stuff up in the manuals, telling you to go from this here to this point of the story to this point of the story. And then you've also got all these, these different envelopes that you're going to eventually unseal and take out new cards, add cards, stuff like that. I think there's like maybe 10 of them, something like that. Again, sounds cool. I was so excited when I opened it up and I saw all the different stuff, and I saw the envelopes. Graeme knows how much I like games where there's envelopes that I can unlock. But here was the problem. And at first I just thought it was me, being the type of person that I am, and how I struggle at times with these type of games when I start to overthink things. And there's one particular puzzle, and I think it's in the very first envelope, where you're at the switchboard. And so you've got to figure out how you're supposed to flip these switches that are going to show you a different set of numbers, and then you're going to use that as a reference to look it up in the book. I tried all these different combinations. Now you can, there is one part of the rules that you can go and you can get hints, and it'll tell you, your first hint is go to this paragraph, second hint, go to this paragraph, so on and so forth. But every time you do that, you've got to tick off one of these boxes, which is going to escalate the end of the game, or Jack, I guess, going on his rampage. The problem I had was, again, at first I thought it was me. Then I thought, okay, well, let me do some hints. But as I started to do some looking online on the forums and stuff like that, I realized that I don't even think their hints are correct. Like the amount of, I guess, proofreading or quality control wasn't great, because apparently even some of the numbers on the hints don't line up with what they should be in the books. And it's got some major issues. It's almost unplayable. Again, I didn't try to play through everything because I was pretty frustrated, but from what I've read online, there are a lot of mistakes that were done in this. So much to the point where I think the production companies kind of said, "Oh, we're gonna do another edition or whatever and clean it up," which is like, well, good for you, but I'm not gonna buy another version of it. And it seems like these style of games, we've talked about Mythos Tales. The Mythos Tales has some issues as well. And I don't know what it is. I'm sure, because it must be a total nightmare to proof all these different paragraphs and to make sure all the numbers line up. And maybe it's a one-man show, I don't know. But this is not a, I don't think it's a small company. This is put out by the OP Games.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean, is that Osprey? No,
no,
that's not Osprey.
the OP is their big USAopoly was their old name.
Okay.
So
Okay.
they are a major company. It's not like some little fly by night. This is their
Yeah.
first game. They're the people that make like Telestrations and Harry Potter, and they put out.
And I think they also did, I know the designers, I'm trying to remember here correctly. So I believe the designers also did the the recent game very similar to this, the Scooby Doo in the Mansion or
Mhm.
whatever it is. I think it was the same designers. I want to say it was the same company. And from what I heard, that game had mistakes as well, but not nearly as many as this one. And again, it's very unfortunate because I mean, thematically, man, I love The Shining, and being able to to play a game like this and to kind of see the story develop, and you can have Danny actually use The Shining to give him give him some greater insight into the game. I was so frustrated by, I mean, I spent way more time on this first chapter than I should have ever needed. And to then find out, like, if I just spent that much time and it's just been like, okay, I'm just dumb, I can handle that. But to spend that much time on it and realize I really didn't have a chance because of the errors, that really turned me off. And I don't know. I didn't delve far enough into the forums to see if there was an errata sheet or anything like that. I don't know how I would do it unless you flip through and change numbers, within the book. And like anything else, there's so many other games to play. I'm not going to spend that kind of time worrying about it. So I maybe someone else will have a different experience with it, but I don't think they will, because I just think the mistakes slipped through the cracks during production.
Which is too bad because, like you, I was very intrigued by the theme of this game. Now, I don't have this game; I haven't played it, but it was one because of my how much I enjoy these escape room style games. It was one I was definitely looking at. The op kind of put me off because they tend to do IP games, and
Mm-hmm.
I there's very few IP games I actually like. So as soon as you throw an IP on it, it's like, I'm not so sure about that. But the other thing it has going for it are the designers. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, Shen Fum Lim is a very well respected designer, and he's done a lot of really good games. And even his partner on this one, Jay Cormier, he's partnered with Shen Fum
Not a lot.
a lot, and they've done a lot of excellent games. And yet to hear that this one that you didn't enjoy it, and Board Game Geek, I think the average rating is like a 5 out of 10, which, considering some of the garbage I have played, that I would rate like a 2 or 3, but you go to Board Game Geek and it's still rated like a 5.5 or a 6. To see this one rated a 5 on Board Game Geek makes me want to say there's no way I would touch this game.
Yeah, and I think it's rated a 5 just because of the production errors. I mean, it's not everything is a mistake, but if you know there's mistakes, and even if it's not a production mistake, but you know they exist, and as you're playing a game and you think it should be the right answer and it's not, you start to think, well, is it me, or is it because it's a flaw in the production?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just was so disappointed because I love the theme, and I in my mind I love this style of game, although I'm may not be very good at it. But it was so disappointing.
Yeah.
I just, and I don't think I could trust at this point in time that they would clean everything up. I mean, I don't know of any of these style of games that don't have some mistakes. And listen, I can live with a few mistakes, but some of these were pretty. I mean, if your hints aren't correct, that, I mean, come on.
Yeah. And it's tough too because this is like a one and done game, isn't it? Like you kind of go through the story and then
Pretty
you're done.
much. Yeah.
If you are having to either second guess your experience with the game or saying, I can't go any further unless I look up and potentially spoil some of the game to me, it's not like you can say, that path is ruined. I'm going to go this. I'm going to go another path the next time I play. It's like, no, you've completed that piece of the story. you can't retroactively go back and replay it because you've lost that experience. You now know what the problem is. You now know what the right solution is. So you've lost the fun of figuring it out for yourself.
All right. Yeah. Like I said, I wanted to love it. I wanted to enjoy it. I wanted to swing my axe, and well, I guess in this one technically you're trying to escape. But anyways, yeah, I just
You
apparently all work and no play wasn't a motto at the offices for the OP.
So instead of swinging your axe, you're standing in the corner screaming, feebly holding your baseball bat, right?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, this is I don't know. I yeah.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Whenever a game like that, where we've said it before, when you're really intrigued by the theme, but the game kind of lets you down, and I think you feel kind of extra bad for the designers of the game,
Yeah.
because it's not their fault that the game doesn't work. It's who's ever done the proofreading or who's ever done the final production of the game didn't make sure that the game worked like it should. Because if all the clues and all the numbers were all correct, I'm sure the game would have been fun to play.
All right.
But running into dead ends, going I can't continue, really puts a damper on the game.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I mean, luckily it wasn't that expensive of a game. But the other thing, I mean, you would think a company, USA Opoly or whatever it is. I mean, I guess it works. Their little things with their numbers on it, but I don't know. Their card stock is maybe the thinnest I've ever seen for a hobby board game.
Right.
Maybe they just had a lot of leftover stuff for making those Monopoly cards or something like that. They needed to use it up. So, anyways, that's the last game I have. I don't know. I don't know if you have anything else to.
No, and the other stuff
to
we've
add.
already talked about on the podcast.
Okay, well, that's going to wrap up this. What did we say? Unboxing the Ketchup.
Something like that, yeah.
Whatever. It's a work in progress.
If you have any suggestions for the title, put it in the comments below.
There you go. I think our plan is to do this once a month.
Yeah.
Just kind of hit some stuff that we're not talking about on the podcast, or showing you stuff that maybe we talked about and you just didn't see the pictures. I don't know if anyone has checked out the latest podcast episode in the video format. If it's something that would is going to appeal to people, maybe people watching this, since this is not going to be on the podcast audio version. I'm sure to be two distinct audiences, but anyways, check out the podcast if download it if you want to listen to it, or just keep watching the videos. And we will
wait. We are now doing stuff on YouTube. So as per our contract with YouTube, please like and subscribe.
Oh yeah. You got to like and subscribe. So I need to get off of some of these platforms. I've got too many. I can't remember them all. I'm just about done with Twitter. I think I other than direct messaging, I'm about Twittered out. I can't scroll past stuff fast enough.
Yeah.
Without getting irritated. But anyways, that's a different topic for a different day. So as always, take care of yourselves and your loved ones. See ya.
See ya.